Hello, my dear friends. Let me take you back to ancient times, to a place known for its wonders and mysteries, Babylon. This city was the heart of one of the most powerful empires in history, located in what is now modern day Iraq. But there is one thing about Babylon that has baffled people for centuries, something that was once considered one of the greatest wonders of the world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. So, what were these gardens? According to ancient writings, these gardens were no ordinary patch of land. Imagine walking through a vast desert with the sun scorching the earth, and suddenly you see a huge towering structure covered with plants, flowers, and vines hanging down like a waterfall. The gardens were said to be so high that they reached 75 feet in the air. And here is the wildest part. All this greenery was smack in the middle of a dry, barren landscape. So, how on earth did they pull this off? Well, the story goes that King Nebuchadnezzar II built these gardens around 600 BC. But he didn't build them for himself. He built them for love. His wife, Queen Amytis, came from a land full of lush, green mountains and forests, a place called Media, which is now part of modern-day Iran. Babylon, on the other hand, was flat and dry, and the queen missed the greenery of her homeland. To make her happy, Nebuchadnezzar decided to create a paradise just for her, a garden so grand and beautiful that it would replicate the nature of her home. But building such a garden in the middle of the desert was no easy task. They had to figure out a way to bring water to the top of the gardens. Some stories say they built an incredible irrigation system that brought water from the Euphrates River to the gardens, allowing the plants to thrive up in the air. It sounds like something out of a fantasy, doesn't it? Now, here is where things get a little strange. For years, people believed this story of the Hanging Gardens. Historians like Herodotus, the famous Greek writer, mentioned them, and the gardens became one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. But, and this is a big but, there is a problem. No one has ever found any remains of these gardens. Not a single stone, not a single root. So, did they really exist? This brings us to a fascinating new theory. A British scholar named Stephanie Dalley, an expert in ancient Mesopotamia, through a branch in the traditional story. Dalley suggests that maybe we've been looking in the wrong place all along. Instead of Babylon, she believes that the gardens were actually located in Nineveh, that the capital of the Assyrian Empire, and that they were built not by Nebuchadnezzar, but by King Sennacherib of Assyria. Now, this is a huge twist. According to Dalley, Sennacherib's palace in Nineveh had some of the most advanced irrigation technology of its time, with water flowing from mountains and rivers through a complex system of channels and aqueducts. She found evidence in ancient texts that matched the descriptions of the gardens, leading her to believe that the gardens everyone has been talking about for centuries were actually in Nineveh, not Babylon. But that's not all. Even though ancient writers like Herodotus and Strabo described the gardens in great detail, there is still no physical proof they existed, not in Babylon and not in Nineveh. Could it be that the Hanging Gardens were just a legend, a story passed down through generations that became more elaborate with each telling? Or were they real, and we've just lost all traces of them to time? Think about it. Ancient Babylon was destroyed and rebuilt multiple times over the centuries, so it's possible that any evidence of the gardens was buried or destroyed. On the other hand, Nineveh was also destroyed by invading forces, and today its ruins lie near the modern city of Mosul in Iraq. Maybe the remains of the gardens are still out there, waiting to be discovered under layers of earth. But why does this mystery still captivate us today? Perhaps it's because the idea of a massive floating garden in the middle of the desert is just too incredible to ignore. Part of plants and flowers blooming high above the ground with water flowing through an elaborate system is something that feels magical, almost too good to be true. And maybe that's the point. whether the Hanging Gardens were real or just a myth. They represent the human desire to create beauty in the most unlikely places. As we wrap up this fascinating story, the question remains, did the Hanging Gardens of Babylon really exist? Were they a gift from a king to his homesick queen, or were they the work of another king entirely, far to the north in Nineveh? Or could it be that the gardens were just a story, a myth that grew larger with each retelling, becoming one of history's most intriguing mysteries? One thing is for sure, the Hanging Gardens, whether real or imagined, have left a lasting impression to the world, and their mystery continues to inspire us today. So what do you think? Could the legendary gardens still be hiding somewhere, waiting to be found, or are they just one of the ancient world's greatest myths?